This conference will now be recorded.
Any questions from previous classes? Is everything clear? Okay. I am logging into Eclipse or HANA Studio, whether it is HANA or S4 HANA, because we do AMDP CDS views in both HANA S4 HANA systems. Now I am logging into ABAP perspective. Now my question is, anyone can tell me, where do we create local class in ABAP perspective, in HANA Studio or Eclipse? Are you able to hear me, guys? Where do we create local class in ABAP perspective in HANA Studio or Eclipse? This is my question. Anyone?
AC38.
Yeah, but in ABAP perspective, we don't have AC38, right? So obviously the answer is in ABAP program. So in ABAP program, same like in GUI. So how do you go to ABAP program here? You just explore. In the dictionary, we have already seen database procedure proxy and external views. If you go to the source code library, we have ABAP program. See? This is the ABAP program. If you look here you can create a local class. Here we can create a local class. Here like class name, definition, and class. Like this. If you want, you can activate this here. And you can also go to GUI. This is the same system which we added from ABAP perspective. And here we can go to XC38 and here we can do. Here we can also do changes. See, whatever we did there, we are able to see. And even we are able to change here. And whatever you change here, you can see even there. Now my another question is, how do we create a global class? Where do we create a global class in ABAP perspective in HANA Studio or Eclipse? right click the package or local object, new. Either you can select this ABAP class or this ABAP class. Both are same. Now let me create. This is the class. Now my question is it local class or global class? Is it local class or global class?
Global class.
Let me activate and show you. This is a global class because yesterday even I showed you even in the GUI itself, right? Even in the GUI also, I showed the same thing. See, I can see it in SC24. Even I am able to change also here. But whatever you are able to see in ABAP perspective, you don't have this kind of front end and all. This you don't have this kind of front end and all. That is the reason. That is the reason you are not able to see like this, right? If I go source code based, see, it's the same you are able to see in the ABAP perspective in HANA Studio or Eclipse. So is it clear now in ABAP perspective, where do we create a local class and where do we create a global class? Either you create here, you can change in GUI, whether we create in GUI, even we can change here. Is it clear everyone? Any questions till here? Hello, are you there guys? If I don't get responses, no worries for me. I can go ahead. You can,
No doubt.
yeah. If you have any questions, you can stop me, okay? Okay, so now we create AMDP, right click new, either by selecting this ABAP class or by selecting source code library. Here, ABAP class, anything is fine. But once you create a ABAP class like this, it looks like this. But this is like a global class. But here what we need to understand is every class may not become AMDP, but every AMDP is a class. Now we need to understand when a class can become an AMDP. When a class can become an AMDP, that is very, very important thing. So I take one already existing AMDP and I will explain the prerequisites to become an AMDP. The prerequisites for a class to become an AMDP. Very, very important. After that, we create one hello world kind of AMDP. And I will also give you the assignment. I'm just going to existing AMDP and we are going to discuss now the prerequisites for a class to become an AMDP. So we create AMDP same like global class only. Right click the package or local object by choosing the ABAP class or under the source code library by choosing the ABAP class. But what we need to understand here is the prerequisites to become an AMDP. I take any package because in local objects usually we have a lot of objects, so it takes time to load. However, we selected package, we selected source code library. Same way, now we are in the source code library. I'm taking the existing AMDP. And now look at this. The first and very important thing is, in the public section, we need to define the interface. So now we are discussing the prerequisites to become a class is an AMDP. First and foremost thing is, in the public section, interface, if AMDP marker HDB should be defined. In the public section, interface if AMDP marker HDB should be defined. Now we will discuss why do we define this. All these things we will discuss, but the first point is, in the public section, we should define interface if AMDP marker HDB. If AMDP marker HDB is a standard interface, we do not implement anything this interface in the class, we just define it. That's it. Why do we need to define? What is the significance of defining this? Will be discussed. So the first point is, in public section of a class, interface if AMDP marker HDB should be defined, of course, like interfaces. Now the second point is, while defining the method in the definition, right? We are in the definition of a method, and while defining the method, you can define either instance or a static method, not an issue. But while defining the method should have pass by value parameters. The method should have pass by value parameters. This is the second point. The method should have pass by value parameters in its signature. The method should have pass by value parameters in his signature. Anyone can tell me what is pass by value and pass by reference?
No idea, sir.
Okay, so for example, when you create RFC function modules, right? Usually you define import export parameters, and there you should define pass by value. Otherwise, it will not allow us to create. In normal function module, we usually give pass by reference. Why? Because in RFC, why we should give pass by value? Because pass by value means it allocates a different memory when you call that RFC. But normal function module, it allocates the same memory, because pass by reference we use, it allocates same memory, because normal function modules are created in the same system and called in the same system. So they need the same memory while you import or export. But coming to the RFC, we create it in one system, but we call it from some other systems. Let's say I created here a function RFC function module which gives age when we give date of birth, but we call it from some other systems, and you pass that date of birth in some other system, so it need a different memory. So that is the pass by reference and pass by value. Pass by value means it allocates a different memory. Pass by reference means it allocates the same memory. Why here it should have pass by value parameters? Because it allocates a different memory. It needs a different memory here. Why? Because these are created in ABAP layer. Whatever methods in this AMDP are created in ABAP layer, but this method is executed directly in the database. This is created in ABAP layer, but the method is executed directly in the database. That is the reason it needs different memory. It needs different memory. So that is what the second prerequisite. The method should have pass by value parameters in its signature. So if you want, you can take an example of this method like this. Pass by value means, value we give, then in the brackets we write. Then third prerequisite is, in the implementation, every method should have the suffix like this. In the implementation, every method should have the suffix like this. By database procedure for HDB, language SQL script, options read only. Every method should have the below suffix. We will discuss this. Every method should have below suffix in implementation. That is, by database procedure for HDB, language SQL script, options read only. By database procedure for HDB. By database procedure means it is a database procedure. You can see here in the implementation method by database procedure. It's like a database procedure. For HDB means HANA database, language SQL script, options read only. Whatever logic we write between method and method, here by database procedure, because it's like a database procedure, HDB means HANA database. We have to write SQL script like HANA SQL. Read only, it is used only for reading data. It is only reading data. If you remember well, entire ABAP on HANA is only for extraction of data. Whether it is external view, database procedure proxy, AMDP, CDS view, all these are used to extract the data. All these are used to extract the data. That we should remember. Now the last one is between method and method. We write the HANA SQL logic. For example, whatever this is all ABAP. Now, if you go between method and method, this is HANA SQL. This is HANA SQL. Whatever logic we write between method and method, should be HANA SQL. That is the fourth point. The logic between method and end method should be HANA SQL. So if all these points are satisfied, then we call it as an AMDP. Here the question is, let's say in a class I have 10 methods, but few methods have this suffix and this fourth point, but few methods doesn't have this suffix. Then whichever method is following all these points, then it is like an AMDP method. When we execute it, it directly executes in the database like a push down approach. Other methods which doesn't follow this suffix, of course, if it doesn't follow this suffix, we can't write even an ISQL. Third and fourth both are interrelated. If you write this suffix, definitely you should write HANA SQL. Otherwise, it won't allow. If you don't write this suffix, you can't write HANA SQL. So third and fourth both are interlinked. First point is like a generic one related to the class. It is applicable generic related to the class. So second point, third point, fourth point are related to the method. Whichever method follow all these points, then that method is an AMDP method. When we execute it, it executes directly in the database. If a method which doesn't follow these, then it's like a normal method. If we execute, it executes in ABAP layer only, like go database and come back, go database and come back, like a normal method. Now we will create one hello world kind of simple AMDP class and method, and then we will discuss all these points step by step. But before that, I want to check with you any questions. Is it clear?
No, sir.
Yeah, someone asked a question, can we create a method without parameters? Yes, you can create a method without parameters also. Okay, now let me create a class just to display data. We will go step by step, okay? In first example, because in this system we don't have much tables, so I am going ahead with the available tables. Then we will see a lot of examples even in S4 as well. Now I want to display all the data from this table. Later I give input, based on input I want display data. So I'm going to ABAP perspective. I'm going to this package, right click new. Anyone can tell me what option do I need to select to create AMDP?
Web class.
Yes, ABAP class. From here or else in the source code library ABAP class. Either we can select this or ABAP. Now I'm giving the class name, of course, whatever we create with Z or Y we should do next, because we are creating under package, so definitely it asks the request number. Now let us select any of this request number, finish. Now here in the public section, what is the first point? Anyone can tell me? When can we say a class become an AMDP?
Interface should be there. If
Yeah, in the public section, we need to define the interface. If AMDP marker HDB. I mean this point, correct? This first point. But before that, let me show you something. Let me activate it. I activated. Where can we see this class? In SC24. I'm going to the same system in SC24. Now I am in SC24. Now I have a question for you. Here we are able to change, see, we are able to change, but usually we should not change ABAP on HANA objects. Whether it is external view or database procedure proxy, AMDP, CDS views, we create them in ABAP perspective, but create, change, delete in ABAP perspective, but we are able to see in GUI. We can't change them. But why we are able to change it here? Anyone can answer my question?
It is in ABAP layer.
The reason is this is not at AMDP, right? It's just like a global class only. It's just like a global class only. That's the reason we are able to change even in GUI. It is not at ABAP on HANA object. Because we have not yet applied at least one prerequisite. We have not yet applied at least one prerequisite to this class to become an AMDP. So it's a global class, normal class. Now, when a class can become an AMDP, we have set of prerequisites. The first is in the public section. We need to define, see, object could not be locked because already in the GUI, it is in editable mode. So first, let's come back. Now, interfaces. If AMDP marker HDB. Now let us activate. Now let's go to GUI SC24. Now let us try to change it. See, are we able to change it? Can you see the message in the bottom left corner bottom? See? So the class contains stored procedure which cannot be changed in SAP GUI. Which cannot be changed in SAP GUI. Because now it's not completely an AMDP, but it's satisfied one of the prerequisites. That's the importance of this interface. When you define this interface, you don't need to implement this interface. As soon as this interface is defined, it is like an AMDP class. We should not change it in the GUI. It's like an ABAP on HANA object. Now, what is the second prerequisite?
it should pass by value.
Exactly. We should define pass. First of all, we should define a method. You can define a method wherever you want, public section or protected section or private section. But remember, if it is private section, there is no use. You can't call this method outside this class in ABAP program or wherever you want, you can't call. If it is protected also, you can't call outside the class. You can call inside the class or in the subclass. So usually you should define in the public section only to leverage it in your ABAP objects, in ABAP objects. So before defining a method, I am defining some type declaration because we need to display multiple data from this table. I am just giving some name for the table, type table of. We will also go step by step. In the next step, we will define only few fields, but here let us take one. Something is going. Okay, XNWD field. Now you can define either instance method or static method. It's not an issue. Class method, get data. The method should give. So exporting. We will also do in importing in the next after this. First, let us do this. It should be passed by value. So you should write value et data type tt product. If you see now implementation missing, and here if you look at methods, method name, exporting, if you write value and in the bracket name means it's like passed by value. If you don't write value like et data like this, it is like a pass by reference. It is like a pass by reference. This is like pass by value. This is like pass by value. So class hyphen method or method name, exporting value in the bracket we give the name, then type tt product. Then coming to the implementation, method get data. What is the third point? And another thing you see, usually method name, end method. Usually we do that, right? But now it's not a AMDP method. It's like a normal method. Because when you execute this method, and here you can write any kind of code here. ABAP you can write OpenSQL and all, but it executes in ABAP layer only. It doesn't execute in the database. Now anyone can tell me what is the third point?
Some text should be written data by like that.
Database procedure for HDB language SQL script.
Now we need to write the suffix like by database procedure. Even it will give, once you start, right, even it is given as like a help, and we can for HDB language SQL script option read on. So you can see here method name by database procedure for HDB language SQL script options read only end method. Now, if you before when you write method name, if we did not write, we did not get any error. As soon as we write this suffix, see, you can see the error now. The body of database procedure cannot be empty. It means now it is considering it became like a database procedure. If it is a database procedure, it should not be empty. You should write something. So by database procedure for HDB language SQL script options read only. You know all these things. Now between method and method, you cannot write OpenSQL. You cannot write OpenSQL and ABAP code. You should write HANA SQL only. You already know HANA SQL. We have seen in the scripted calculation view. Same thing, whatever we have done in the procedure and scripted calculation view, we do here. So left side you have the internal table and right side you write select stars from SNWDPD. That's it. So at the moment I am not writing any where condition, but here there is an error. Anyone can tell me, are you able to read this error, and do you think why this error is appearing? And if you want, I am putting cursor again. Look at this error. Are you able to see this error, or can I unlock?
We have to pass table name in that method.
Yeah. Why? Yeah, it's correct. Why? Why? Because when it is executing directly in the database, it identifies the database object. If you write schema.table name, it can identify. If you write directly modeling view, it can identify. Because going forward, we will use modeling views here. We will use schema name dot table names here. It identifies the database object. But if it is dictionary objects or ABAP objects, yeah, please put yourself mute if you are not speaking. In case if you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so it doesn't identify the dictionary objects or ABAP objects because this code is executing directly in the database. Database cannot identify ABAP layer objects until and unless you declare them or you notify it like it is a ABAP layer object. But if it is a database object like a table or a modeling view or whatever it is, it identifies. So here SNWDPD is a dictionary object. Even you can see clearly in the message error itself. SNWDPD is unknown. ABAP objects and DDIC objects must be declared in the method statement. Local names must start with colon. In case if it is an internal table or a variable, it should start with colon. You already know it. But if ABAP objects and DDIC objects, if you define some ABAP class here, if you use some ABAP class here or dictionary objects like a table or a view, it should be defined. How do we define? Here you just write using and the table name. Using and just the table name. Now let's activate. Now go to SC24 and we see here, and if we execute, we are able to see the data. But what is the difference for normal method and this method? When you execute this method, the logic between method and end method is directly executing the database. Of course, here you have only one select. If you write multiple selects, or you can use modeling view here, then instead of going database and ABAP layer, go database and ABAP layer, everything directly executes in the database. Okay, but how do we call it in ABAP program or a smart form or a workflow or anything? It's like normal method only, nothing special in that while calling. Let me show you by creating some program. Or maybe I will call it not now. Let me create also some input field. At the moment, this is giving all the data from this SNWD PD, right? We give some input now. Based on input, we want to see the data. Let us give that input as maybe product ID or something. Product ID. If you give input product ID, it should give all the data based on the product ID. So for this, importing value IV product ID type SNWD product ID. Here in the where condition, we write product ID. But one thing here, when you refer any internal table or any variables in the select statement, you should write colon and that importing parameter or variable we write. Same like we did in scripted calculation. Now it's activated. Now let me see some data here. And let us test from SC24. We are able to see only one record for this. Now how to call this in ABAP program? Because it's an AMDP method and all, is it a different way of calling or is it same like? Let's see that now. I'm just creating a parameter. Product ID. Now go to the pattern option. Go to ABAP object pattern. Give the class name and method name. Now pass importing parameter here. And here you declare data that's it. It's like a normal method only, nothing else. So however we call normal method, if it is instance, we create object. If instance method, if it is a static, we directly call like class. Same concept. There is no difference in calling, whether it is AMDP or a normal method. But only thing, whatever it is executing directly in the database. Whatever it is executing directly in the database. How to debug and all, we will see in the end. We will see in the end the debugging and all. So this is what actually AMDP, how to create AMDP and how to call AMDP and what are the prerequisites. We will go step by step and we will create how AMDP by reading two tables, modeling view, select options, database tables. We will go step by step and is it required to create a new class for every method? No, we can create same like normal OOPs. You can create all the methods in the same class itself. I have some questions in the chat box. First, let me answer those. And meanwhile, let me know if it is clear or not in the chat box. If you want, I can elaborate it. First, let me answer those questions. Can we treat this prerequisite as initialization event? No, there is no difference for initialization event and the prerequisite. Okay, this is not an event. If how to create AMDP we are discussing, right? Class is a different, AMDP is a different. To become an AMDP, if you satisfy all these things, it is an AMDP. You cannot correlate initialization event and this one. Okay, that is different. This is different. Okay, any questions now? Is it clear at least, everyone?
Yeah, Venkat, type put TTD product means that is internal table or
This one, right? Yeah, it's internal table only. Runtime table to display multiple data. For example, in method, like in yesterday I explained, right? In global class, here type, here you can also give table type, but table type is like physical object. Then what we did yesterday, in the types we defined, correct? Same way here in the types I am defining. But yes, it's like internal table to display multiple data. It's a type declaration, like yesterday we did in the type. Same like yesterday we did. Yesterday we discussed, right, to display multiple customers. One option is to create table type, but table type is a physical object. That's why we went to types and we defined same like this. Is it clear?
Can we execute this in ABAP perspective?
Yeah. How? Why not? ABAP perspective or GUI both are same, right? You can execute. Let me show you. ZYASIS 201, where we create here, right? I think this is a, no, not this. This is ours, right? Right click. You can right click.
Okay.
Here, run as ABAP application. We have different options. You can run, right click and run
Okay.
like this.
Got it. Got it.
I also have some question in the chat box. Always do we need to put the output of the select statement? Yes, because usually in methods, right, or function modules, you write the code inside method or function module, but you call it is outside in ABAP program or workflow or smart form, right? Definitely, if you want to pull the data, you should give it in the export parameter. Or yes,
My question is exactly Like first I will put an internal local table, and then after that I will apply filter or something on that internal table, and I will pass it to the export parameter. So you can do like that.
Yeah, that I will explain, apply filter and all.
The process we can do like first can we put it in an internal table, and after that can we pass it to a export parameter?
Yes, we can do that. We can do that.
Okay.
We will explain, I will explain apply filter and all in the coming classes. We can also select data from internal table as well in HANA SQL. Inline declaration can be used. Yes, you can use inline declarations, but honestly speaking, whatever logic you write between method and method, it is HANA SQL, not Open SQL, right? So it's not applicable here. Yeah, Dinesh, your mail ID is updated now in the videos list. You will get videos. Yeah, any questions now? Is it clear? Is it clear, everyone? Okay, then tomorrow we will see now step by step. We will see instead of taking all the data, let us take only few fields now. So please take this as an assignment from your side as well. Whatever I did now, right? Please do it and send me an email. I am not getting any emails from anyone except one or two people, right? Regarding the assignment. So please do this same thing in your system. Create one package or use some package and create some class with your name and send me the class name and package name. I will check it. You don't need to do anything. Blindly you do whatever I did. That's the assignment for today. Okay. And if you have time, try also same thing in another way. I have taken here multiple all columns, right? Don't take all columns. Take only product ID, type, code, category and show them in the output. Anyway, I will explain you this tomorrow, and after this I will explain inner join and then apply filter or whatever modeling view, how to use uh, CDS views or how to use external view. All these things we will discuss. Okay. So I am stopping for today, guys. So tomorrow we have the class as usual. Okay. The same time. Okay. So tomorrow we have the class 7 to 8 only, or do you want 7:30 to 8:30? I don't know. It's up to you. Tomorrow is Saturday, right? So do you want the class same time or because Saturday you want 7:30? I don't know. Okay, let's have the same time. Why to have a confusion, right? Why should you have a turmoil on this? Okay, we will meet tomorrow, guys. So please do this assignment and send me. Okay. Any more questions, guys? If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we can close for today. Tomorrow, I will ask questions, guys. Please be ready for that question on the same topic. When a class can become an AMDP, I will ask this question. Thank you. Have a nice day.